Starring Arnie himself, the king of 80s action films, one could easily make the argument that Commando is the ultimate body count action flick. This movie came out the same year as the far more serious Rambo First Blood Part 2, slap bang in the middle of the 80s, and together both can be seen as different versions of the same basic concept, an ex-military hardman forced into action again. Although where Rambo was sent back to Vietnam, here we find John Matrix solely on American turf as he fights to save his daughter from some bad guys with incredibly defined butt chins and odd taste in clothing. After a number of guys from Matrix's old unit are assassinated, he finds himself attacked at his mountain home and his daughter kidnapped. These two have a great relationship handily shown via this montage, and so you know that he's going to fuck anyone up threatening that. The film sets up that he's a badass pretty well, and this is a great self-aware little moment in a film full of them.
Right? Wrong.
But then he proceeds to lose his daughter, crash his car, and get caught relatively easily. So, who knows what could happen next? After some messing around, he randomly kidnaps this young woman and forces her into helping him, which leads to him taking on half of the local police force in a mall. As action sequences go, it's not particularly memorable, but it's also fine and very easy to follow. The geography is established beforehand, and though it has a number of elements and people to follow at the same time, you always know where they are in the space and it never gets confusing. This leads to a pretty good stunt, with Arnie then tailing this guy, and again, not all that memorable, but technically solid car chase. We then get to the main hand-to-hand bit of the film, with Schwarzenegger taking on Bill Duke from Predator. There's no bleeding out real quiet here though, with Arnie making a pretty big mess of him. You might seem to notice a trend here where the action is fine, but nothing all that exciting. Could it be that they are saving up for a big finale? Who knows, but it keeps the film moving and gives Arnie lots of time to show off and make quips.
Remember, Sally, when I promised to kill you last?
That's right, Major. You did.
I lied.
And that's one thing that's great about Commando, and sadly lacking from action film nowadays. The humour. Sure, the action is functional, but it's made so much more entertaining by a surprisingly decent helping of light comedy.
Fuck you, asshole.
You can't help but appreciate its self-aware attitude, and it really does support the action.
These guys eat too much red meat.
What this is all leading to, though, is the final action sequence, and where the others perhaps weren't memorable, this has to be one of the defining moments of 80s action cinema. Schwarzenegger walks onto an island estate defended by a small army, and proceeds to kill just about everybody. It's ridiculous and kinda hilarious, and all in all a pretty standout sequence. As usual, you never feel the need to question what is happening, with the film employing enough wides and establishing shots to keep the geography in check. Arguably it lacks style, instead staying merely functional, but after seeing films like Taken Free, with action sequences like this, watching Commando now is ironically a breath of fresh air. You can't really fault Commando for its action, except the fact that Matrix seems to be impossible to hit with bullets. Literally, these guys are worse than stormtroopers. And I was disappointed by how little Matrix uses the rocket launcher. For all they build it up earlier in the movie, he only uses it to destroy this car, and then a wooden gate. He could climb over that. Otherwise, though, it really is a film that knows exactly what it is and does it well. It may not have the serious tone of the Rambo films, the style of Terminator 2, or the basic quality of Die Hard, but it does have a knowing sense of humor and very well constructed action sequences. It might look a bit dated now, but when movies like The Expendables struggle to strike the balance of action and humor that this film does so effortlessly, you can't help but be glad Commando exists.
Let off some steam, Bennett.